My desk needs some serious organization help, so I'm taking a piece of scrap from an old project and cutting that down over at the miter saw in half so that way we can get some desk organizing trays all cut out. I clamped it down to the STEPCRAFT M1000 with the work holding wasteboard, which we do have plans for on our website as well as this project, and it definitely works really nice shaped pieces like this. We're going to get a 3D dish carved out here using a 1/4 inch ball nose bit, and it's really cool to see this all come together and get that 3D shape all carved out. We'll use the automatic tool changer and get that all swapped out for a bowl bit, and this bowl bit is going to go through and cut out the majority. I do things a little bit different here. Basically, I do a offset toolpath and then follow up with a raster toolpath to go with the grain with a really small 10% step over, and that eliminates all of the sanding needed on a bottom of a tray. So basically, it gives me a perfectly smooth finish right off of here. So this is the main tray that it's carving out now. That will be what will hold everything. This is all a modular design. So the small piece is half the size of the medium-sized piece, and the large piece is twice the size of the medium piece. So we got everything all cut out there, and we'll switch out for a 1/4 inch downcut bit. Right now we're cutting out a drink holder, so we'll fit a coaster in there here just shortly. We'll get the profile for everything all cut out as well. The downcut action of the bit leaves a nice clean surface on the top side of the material. I'm using some tabs to hold everything in place while we're cutting through. That one up at top, I was a little bit worried about cutting since there's that crack in the piece, but it ended up working out just fine. We'll get that pulled up off of the machine, get it cleaned off, and put down our second sheet. On this one, I do have some Aura mask over the top of it, just to show a bit more difference in cutting. And so for this, I'm going to go through with a core box bit to do some fluting. These are for like pens or anything long to fit in. And so these do really nice. The cut is really nice on these without any sort of cleanup needed at all in there. And then we'll also use that same bit to cut a finger hole for a post-it note holder. And then we'll get that dropped off and pick up the 1/8 inch bit to cut some slots here for a SD card holder. And then we'll switch out again for the bowl bit to cut out the pockets for the trays. You can see a bit more up close how we do that pocketing path. So basically I do offset because it's faster, and then do rastering with the grain to get the cleanest cut possible at a small step over. We'll switch out again for the 1/4 inch downcut bit to come in and cut some holes that we're going to be able to fit things into later. For the smaller holes, I'm able to do a spiral ramp down. For the larger holes, I need to do it in 2 passes. I can do that spiral ramp down because the bit is less than half the diameter of the hole that we were making. So you can see again there where we're going with the grain to be able to get that nice clean bottom tool path. Then we'll do all of our profile cutting on these pieces. On the phone holder portion here, you can see I made a bit of a mistake, or I didn't add a tool path here that I should have, and we get a bit of chipping right there on the edge. That's because the pocket is already done and we're coming back and basically peeling that grain away. I'll show you how we fix that here in just a little bit. We got everything all vacuumed off, and we can get that pulled up as well. Then we can use a multi-tool to trim the tabs and get everything free there. Move over to the router table and use a 1/4 inch Spektra coated flush trim bit to go through and remove all of those tabs. The bit did a really nice job removing those nice and cleanly. Having the right tool for the job is a beautiful thing. With this mini bit, I'm able to fit into this really tight area to be able to round these edges over. This is an area that no other bit's going to be able to go, but that tiny 3/16 inch diameter ball bearing fits really nicely in there. On this, I'm able to do a full round over without touching the bottom of my pocket. With any normal bit, you're going to run into the bottom here before you're actually able to reach the full height of the round over. That's because there's a larger space between the top of the bearing and the cut height of the bit. But with this one, we're able to get right in there. Let's get these all rounded over. If you do any amount of CNC work, these mini bits, there's several different styles, are absolute must-haves. Having that tiny ball bearing allows you to get into places that you can't get with other bits, and these are certainly no exception. So it fits in there really nicely, and then we can just use the same bit to round over the outside top edge of all of the pieces. And I also use that to round over the phone holder and then some of the post-it holders as well on all of the pieces. I didn't touch anything on the bottom except for on the larger main tray, because that actually helps everything fit together. We have all those done, and I can actually fix those pieces that we did before. Another alternative to using the mini roundover is to use a point roundover bit. The plans for this project do include the point roundover tool paths as well. You certainly don't have to use them. I didn't use them before because the pieces that I was working with were offcut scrap pieces and they were not flat. With a point roundover, you do need to make sure that your material is nice and flat. Otherwise, you'll carve things incorrectly as you'll have an inconsistent roundover on all of your pieces. So you can see that roundover left there after we got that all cut out. We can switch back to the bowl bit and do the same that we did before on some of the other pieces. With that all done, we can then switch out again for the 1/4" downcut bit, and that's going to go through and we're going to pocket out for the phone holder. You can see here with the toolpath that I just added a roundover on those edges, and it just rounds those edges over ever so slightly so that when we come back and do the profile, we're not going to have that splintering or chip out like we did before. And we'll show you that here in just a second. So we got the rest of the profiles all cut and got the piece pulled up as well. Moved over to the workbench, and you can see those pieces with absolutely no chipping. And also that bottom tray, you can see that shine there. No sanding required. That's straight off of the machine, and we can be ready to go. So I just sanded over the top edges of all of the pieces, ensured everything's nice and smooth, and added some walrus oil cutting board oil for a finish. We added some blue tape to the inside to make sure that we didn't get finished there. We got all the finish put on the pieces, and while that's setting up, I put some cork down on the CNC machine. I used some painter's tape to hold it in place. I made sure that I got the edge nice and pressed against the cork to ensure that it doesn't move. Using a drag knife here, so I turned off the spindle, so you do not need the spindle to run while that is cutting. The drag knife goes through and cuts all of that in a single pass, and we got that all pulled out. It did a really nice job cutting. However, I wanted to test and see what it would be like if you just used a regular bit. This is the 1/8" downcut bit we've been using throughout the project to cut the cork, and it cut really nicely. I was really surprised at just how well that cut. And now we know going forward, you don't necessarily even need to use the drag knife for that. So we got all of the finish buffed off the pieces and got everything blown out. On the smaller pieces, using an air compressor to blow the finish out of the holes made things easier as I wasn't able to really get in there and buff that off. Pulled the tape off the coaster, then we got the backing pulled off of the cork and got that all stuck down. It was a really, really nice fit. Now you can really see how all of this modular desk storage system fits together and how all of these pieces integrate. So everything is modular. You can replace each one. The small ones are half the size of the medium is half the size of the larger trays, and you can find any number of combinations of these. I've used these organizers on my own desk for several weeks now, and it has been super nice. It's definitely cleaned my desk up quite a bit. Everything shown here is included in the plans for this project, so be sure to check those out on our website. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. We'll catch you guys back out here in the next one. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you love this type of content, be sure to subscribe right over here and click right over here for more great videos.